Hello and welcome everybody to round 10 of FRS Division 5. We are here in Hungary for another presumably exciting race, and I am joined once again by our good friend McNugget. Nugget, how are you doing?
Oh, I am looking forward to Hungary, I'll tell you. After last week's shenanigans, the newly named Renault Corner, I am eager to see what sort of destruction we're in for tonight.
Yes, indeed. So it is round 10 of this 12 round FRS season, and we are here at another challenging technical circuit in Hungary, just outside of Budapest, the Hungaro Ring, and a circuit where there's plenty of chance of rain, which would, of course, make things very interesting indeed, and plenty of chance of the old track limits as well.
Definitely. 14 corners in total here. The speed trap going from the 14th corner to the first on the home stretch. Plenty of corners with a few dodgy inside curbs that if you clip them, it will send you spinning all over the place like you dodge them. So it is definitely going to be one for the clean and technical drivers. However, I think we are missing them in Division 5 this season.
Well, here is that Division 5 Drivers' Championship. Ice Kid Man continues to lead the way from T-Keg and Hercules with 3 races to go. King Bart still in 4th, impressively, having only competed in 3 races of this season. And yeah, we don't seem to have Ferron in the table, which is a Roy Weller issue, not a Harringzord issue. There's a couple of names actually missing from that table. Whoever's meant to be in P13 isn't there. I assume it's a replacement driver problem as
Jukes,
much
possibly.
as anything. Jukes is the other one, yeah. So, Ice Kid Man has done very, very well recently, and we're kind of running out of time. We got to stop him sooner rather than later, haven't we?
Indeed, we're probably looking at the Ferrari of T-Keg and potentially the Racing Point of Hercules as being the main competitors here. Although, anybody else on track, feel free to just take Ice Kid Man out and do everyone else a favour.
Well, I mean, that's one way of putting it. We do not condone that sort of action, but, sometimes it happens.
I fully do. So
McNugget does. There we go. So, as I say, we've got 3 races to go. The Constructors' Championship looks like this, and there's just 2 points separating Racing Point and Ferrari, with Williams, which has previously been a solo effort from Ice Kid Man, but now they've got Ferron, who did very, very well in Suzuka last time out, narrowly missing out on a podium. But they're in third ahead of McLaren and Mercedes. Mercedes started so well and have just gone off the boil a bit in recent times, haven't they?
Hummersep and Mahoney struggling, kind of had a very strong quarter of the season. High point being Baku when Hummersep brought home the win there. But since then, they've both kind of struggled for not necessarily pace, but clean driving and getting points as a result, losing quite a lot of potential points, picking up needless penalty points.
I think my least favourite stat of the season is that since since he won in Baku and we talked about Hummersep's consistency, since that win in Baku, he has not scored a single point here in Division 5.
Definitely something to be looking to amend here now. Also, Hercules does appear to be the only Racing Point driver here tonight. October 4th, I believe, missing. So that'll be some points potentially lost for Racing Point unless Hercules can get in the top points himself and kind of make up for that.
Indeed, well, it looks like we've got a fairly packed grid, which is good. That's what we like to see. But what we have seen, certainly from the Division 6 race I just came from, it was great fun to drive. It maybe wasn't necessarily such good fun to watch. Difficult to overtake here.
That's Division 6 for you and possibly every other division. But as we know, Division 5 are an element of their own. They are an enigma wrapped in a puzzle box, wrapped in a Sudoku equation, where we never know what's going to happen and we never know what they're trying to do.
But are they that difficult to work out? Don't they just crash into each other?
Well, yeah, but I wanted to try and spice it up a bit. they crash into each other. We're giving them plenty of opportunities to do so on this course, though. Like I said, a lot of the corners don't have a curb, as it were, that you can drive on, realistically.
Yeah, it's narrow, it's twisty, it's technical, and it is very easy to pick up track limits penalties at a few points of the course. And that actually, those sort of tracks have been the ones where we've seen Ice Kid Man potentially make a few more mistakes and fall foul of the track limits penalties compared to the ones that we've... I mean, Japan, he did pick up a penalty, but was sort of imperious. This is the circuit. We can take a look at it now. It is 4.38 kilometers long, set into basically like a bowl, they always say, don't they? And it's a sort of natural valley. If it rains, the rain tends to stick around, but we're not expecting any rain in this session, which is good news for all, I imagine. And we can move over now to the qualifying session.
Indeed, we see who decides to get out first and start us off early. It is definitely going to be an interesting race, that's for sure. A lot of the guys, TK, Hercules, as we've spoken before, know they need to get some big points here, so they will be pushing hard. I'll be interested to see Ferron after showing quite a lot of pace last week, to see if they will continue and bring that pace in. And I'll be interested to see if Kana can actually make it through qualifying without crashing this time.
We're not going to curse on people again, are we? Surely.
Well, we never do it on purpose, but I'm sure it'll happen.
For Donald's benefit, Ice Kid Man is out on the medium tyres here, and everybody else out on the soft compound at this point. So Ice Kid Man possibly just getting his eye in. The first car we can see on the circuit is Ferron, who's in his second race here in Division 5, but he has raced in Division 3 previously. Now, my hope here, fingers crossed, is that I don't have any issues with... Because I started the stream, popped away, and then came back, and all of a sudden my game had graphical driver crashed and all sorts of nonsense. So the hope is that that doesn't stick around, and that we can get on with a nice clean session, and I can see the whole thing as well.
Indeed. And speaking of, as you said, not a lot of positions to overtake, I'm sure there will be a lot of eyes on the human cannonball that is Arif, just to make sure that going into turn 1 he behaves himself, which he has sometimes forgot. And Evil Steel, we'll see how things go with him.
We've got to start taking it to Ice Kid Man. He's kind of had it all his own way in the past few races, and when I say, if Ferron, the sort of debutant here, turned up and had a good race, that doesn't really damage Ice Kid Man's championship challenge too much, because Ferron doesn't have enough races left to do anything about it. It's sort of the ball's in TK and Hercules' court. They kind of need to get on with this and start beating the Williams sooner rather than later.
I mean, what you might be able to say is I'm happy to pay money to anybody that takes Ice Kid Man out. Now, I'm not going to say how much, but I will happily pay something.
So Ferron looked to have aborted that lap. So we can take a look at the championship leader, Ice Kid Man, coming through the left-right section here at the top end of the circuit. And you've got to be very, very precise, especially this last one, which is sort of like a downshift and almost kind of flat. Hercules goes quickest on a 14.8, and that already is quite a quick time.
Indeed, Hercules out to show a point, I feel, this week. Last couple of weeks he has struggled, picked up some silly penalties, got involved in some silly crashes, costing him more points than it possibly should have. So we have a red wheel off in Sector 2.
It is Evil Steel, and Ice Kid Man currently last of all on a 15.9 on the medium tyres. So you would expect to see him go again. We'll take a look now at TK, who's just beginning his own lap and a chance to ride on board with the Ferrari driver as we come up there.
Steel has spun again at Sector 2 and is off track.
So this curb here, we've got to be careful on the inside curb, because that thing will throw you round the wrong way in a hurry. The chicane here, it's easy to cut one of these two large curbs quite a lot. We can run that all the way to the outside curb, and then it's sort of 4th and 5th gear all the way through this section at the top end of the circuit. That left hand is flat, and this one, it's a slight lift, and throw the car in. Evil Steel just about keeps out the way, and the barrier there, and hard on the brakes into this 3rd gear corner. TK missed the apex slightly there. Nordy's gone quickest on a 1:14.7, and Van on base into P3 right now on a 15.0. TK into the long final corner, got to wait to get on the power. And the Ferrari driver, currently second in the championship, is only 5th on the grid after the first run.
I would expect T-Keg to get back in, change those tyres and get back out. I think there's more pace there for T-Keg. Canurdi, somebody we know always does seem to do quite well in these qualifications. Struggled a bit maybe in the first quarter of the season, but has really came on his own in the qualifiers and really looking to get those top positions on qualifying into some real points for himself.
Dan Gilligan pops into 4th place, and we've got 12 drivers that have set a time, though I imagine Roy Weller will not consider his 1:17.1 to be particularly representative. Most likely a mistake on that particular lap, and there's a Ferrari causing a yellow flag somewhere. I think that's T-Keg.
I think it's T-Keg's fuel issue. I think he may be loaded up for one lap. He does have a bit of a warning light, so he may be going slower than normal. Harringzord, normally about this point, we've seen sometimes put. Who do you expect to go? What give me your top 3 expectations for qualifying?
Before we talk about anything, normally at this point of the session, we get a chance to look at Karner, who, of course, tends to wait until everybody's done a lap and then get out onto the circuit himself. Karner, this time, invalidates. So, my bad. On the subject of top 3, well, that 14.7 from Nordy is a good one. If we're honest, it's very, very difficult to look beyond Ice Kid Man, who's taken the last 3 pole positions and 4 of the last 5. You'd be a fool to bet against the Williams driver, who's currently 9th, but did use the medium tyres on his only run so far in this session. Who am I going to go for? I'm gonna suggest that Hercules might sneak a pole position here. Hercules, Nordy, and Ice Kid Man, my top 3. But it's easier to say when 2 of them have done a lap.
And the other ones qualified first for the last 5 races, basically.
Speaking of on a lap, Homicep returns after a week of absence. And, of course, no points.
Violent diarrhea that he had last week. We're so glad he got over that.
No points in his last 5 races since he won in Baku. Been a real shame for Homicep. And that's been a mixture of losing front wings on the first lap, being hit by other drivers on the first lap, or indeed in Belgium, just hitting the wall entirely of his own accord.
Yeah, he seemed to really take that high point of Baku as that'll just be me for the season, guys.
And that is an invalidation for Homicep on this particular lap. So we will switch to look at a Reef, who's not going very quickly at all. A lot of traffic, and Reef has actually lost a part of his front wing. So presumably something has gone very, very wrong there. Meanwhile, Ferron begins his lap. Second attempt in the Sister Williams. As we say, the only driver to have set a time on the medium tyre so far has been Ice Kid Man. Everybody else has been on the soft, although actually Dan Gilligan's shown that he was on the medium tyres as well when he set his lap. So perhaps the Renault looking like he's very, very quick.
I think that may have been he set the time on the soft and is now coming out on the mediums. I'm not sure how that graphic works.
Yeah, he's now showing soft tyre. Ferron, continuing around, does a 53.9 by the end of the second sector and is continuing to keep this lap legal within the bounds of the track. A couple of very long corners where you've got to be patient now before getting on the power, and there's a little bit of traffic in Ferron's way as well. And out of the final corner and across the line shortly for Ferron, and it is a 15.6 for P8.
Ice Kid Man coming around the final couple of corners here, about half a second up, which would just put him in 8th position unless he's picked up more time.
Yeah, he's shown about a second quicker here, so he could go all the way to the top here. Ice Kid Man across the line to 14.8 for P2.
Big speed there picked up in the third sector for Ice Kid Man. Now, quite a few drivers yet to set a time. Homicep, Arif, Kana, Cookie and Evil Steel. Homicep, the only one of the 5.
Oh, Cookie is well out of control there, coming into the final corner. It's just about pointing in the right direction, and it's going to cost him a lot of time there. Cookie across the line. It's a 16.1 for P11 for the AlphaTauri driver. I've still got my polls graphic on the screen. Come on, Todd.
Evil Steel coming in at 11th there with a 1:15.95. We will see how they get on now. Obviously, there's only 3 drivers to set a time, and we expect Roy Weller and a few others to set a more competitive one, I think.
Mahoney has invalidated this one. Van on Base has not invalidated this one. The Ferrari driver coming to the final 2 corners now, sorry. And Van on Base has really improved his qualifying in recent weeks. He was the sort of driver who qualified in the lower half of the field and moved up into the points. And in recent weeks, he's very much found himself more towards the top 5. Out of the final corner now for Van on Base, and across the line, it's second place for Van on Base. Nordy has improved, by the way, to a 14.3. So
some great pace by Nordy. And bringing up on what you said on Van on Base, definitely the first few races seem to have been like dipping his toes in the water, just finding his feet almost. But week on week, it's kind of came with a bit more confidence, a bit more aggressiveness to win, and has really probably been the most improved driver of the season so far, in my opinion.
Duke's P5 at this stage of the session. So the times are tumbling. There is grip out on that circuit, and it's really anybody's ball game. We'd expect that Ice Kid Man's going to have one more shot at this, but he's got half a second to find to be able to challenge Nordy at the top. We're looking at Hummersep, still yet to set a time, with about 7 minutes to go.
Coming round the last corner, he was half a second faster, so this could be a quick time, almost sneaking second if he's kept the pace up.
It is P2, yeah. Ferrari 2-3 once again, as it was last week in Japan. Van on Base, meanwhile, is just keeping himself completely off the circuit to allow Hummersep to come through. And Hummersep through the second sector is on a 53.4. So considering Van on Base was at a 53.9 at that point, that seems very, very quick.
Hummersep is known to have he does have some pace around this track. I know he's not had the most amount of laps, but did feel he had pace, so it'll be hopeful to see him put that to the track, and comes across on a 1:15.
That's a good time. 1:15.0. Who else on the circuit? We've got Arif and Roy Weller. Arif at the start of his lap. Roy Weller coming towards the end of his, and he's unfortunately over 4.5 seconds down on his previous best. So Mr. Weller will not improve right now, sadly for him. We can have a look at the Haas of Arif. Just making his way through the chicane now. It's a sharp right and a sharp left. And the tricky left, right. TK keeping out the way. Arif full commitment there. Certainly not looking hugely quick at this stage, but I think, to be honest, Arif will just want a time on the board at this stage of the session.
Yeah, you'll be able to get a time on, you'll be able to get an outlap and get round and hopefully get another real goat qualification here. Although even saying that, a 1:16, 15th place, we know Arif's faster than that, so they may be doing a double.
It's better than 16th, it's better than 17th, and it's better than 18th, and currently occupying 18th place is Connor, who we have another chance to take a look at. Arif has now retired from the session at the exit of the first corner. The car appears to be in the wall, and Arif, unfortunately for him, won't be able to improve on his previous best time, so won't start any better than 15th for this Hungarian Grand Prix.
Kind of looking like he is going to put some time together, probably a 1:15.
Oh wow, P5 for Connor.
Wow. Very good to see, very good to see. Connor, the much cursed driver, mainly by Harringzord.
And Hercules goes quickest.
Wow. A 1:14.3.
So it's all happening now. Ice Kid Man.
Ice Kid Man is 1/10 up though on his time. That would put him at a 1:14.7. So he still needs to find half a second somewhere here in the last two sectors if he's going to beat Hercules.
He's got time if he makes a mistake to be able to go again, does Ice Kid Man. But the pressure's on now. He's taken 4 poles in the last 5 races. But right now, he sits in 5th position with more than half a second to find to beat Hercules 1:14.3.
0.4 down, so he needs another 2/10 in this last sector.
Oh, he's invalidated!
Wow. Hopefully tiles back right on that airs and fuel. And then
he can get into the pits and he can go again, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's...
Hercules, a driver we do know is very fast, but doesn't often start on pole. So he would be a very tough car to catch if things stay as they were. And, you know, I don't know if that qualifying time was a shot at certain people saying that he drives like a granny on hard tyres, showing us that he does have some real speed.
Dan Gilligan goes fourth, and I imagine, Nugget, that everything that everybody does here is a shot at you at this point.
I'm not the one to blame. I feel it's you. You're the one that always cuts to their car at the wrong moment. I might be speaking, but...
Well, currently looking at Evil Steel, who is currently in 15th place for Red Bull. And he is slightly improving on his previous best time. As he comes towards the final two corners now. Daft is in 12th place for Haas at the moment. Also on a time, just behind him on the circuit.
Hummersip has also retired from the session by the looks of things.
Yeah, that one was in the pit lane, just deciding he's not going to go again. Evil Steel now across the line. It's a 15.6 to go 14th fastest. So it's AlphaTauri who are really struggling at this stage. Rock James is invalidated, and Daft doesn't seem to be going much quicker either. Looking Ferron on an outlap, warming his tyres up. Daft invalidated and is going to go again. Last chance saloon now for the Haas, but will he have enough Urs energy left? Meanwhile, Nordy on an outlap. Ice Kid Man on an outlap. And Jock James doesn't really have time to go again. Van on base currently on a quick lap as well, just behind Daft. Honestly, if I'm Van on base, I'd be concerned about being that close to the car ahead on this lap.
But we're going to have a good train of last-ditch qualifications here. Probably starting with Canurdi leading the way. Got plenty. Well, he's going to have his teammate in front of him as he comes round, but Roywell should be more than far enough ahead to not cause any issues. So we'll see Canurdi probably leading this, and he may squeeze a second lap if needed, if he's got the fuel, but we'll see what he can do.
Van on base is down. You saw all the traffic in the earlier part of this lap that Van on base was having to contend with, and it's costing him time. Looking like he's not going to improve. Unless...
Canurdi spun it coming out of the first corner, so that will be his qualification over, I'm guessing, unless he can get round and have a second go at this. But it doesn't look like it. It looks like he's just going to go around nice and slow and avoid everyone.
Be short of time. So it's time for Ice Kid Man, who's now 6th on the grid. And with it all to do here, we've got to find nearly 5.5 tenths if we want to snatch pole away from Hercules. And you can see on the minimap the queue of cars. Elliot's raiding us with a party of 25, so you're here right at the right time once again, Division 3 viewers. Hercules currently quickest from Nordy, T-Keg, Dan Gilligan and Van on base. Ice Kid Man needs to find something here. He's taken the last 3 pole positions and he's down on his own time in Sector 1.
And I don't think that was a clean go through there either. I think that might have cost him a wee bit of time, so we'll see if it has as we go through Sector 2. But he will have to push hard here to get any sort of pole or top 3 position.
We've got a Renault, Dan Gilligan keeping well out of the way.
Yeah, well done there. It's worth always saying well done to those drivers that are aware enough to stay out the way of people on fast laps.
Ice Kid Man is up slightly, but this isn't looking like it's going to be enough unless he produces the mightiest final sector that I think we've ever seen. Jock James has not improved. Cookie failed to improve on his lap time as well. I saw an AlphaTauri go across the line. But it's all about Ice Kid Man now, out of the final corner, and he was nowhere near that apex. The Williams across the line, and it is P6 only. He doesn't improve.
T-Keg is packed in as well. He's plus 2.5 seconds on his lap, so there'll not be anything coming from T-Keg. Dukes has spun out, is on the grass, so there'll be nothing there. Ferron possibly with an opportunity here coming just...
Ferron's going slowly as well, I think.
He's also packed it in.
I think we're accounting for, with the exception of Roy Weller, who's currently last. And if he produces pole position here, that would be incredibly impressive from the McLaren driver. But he's looking to get off the very back of the grid. And Roy Weller comes out of the final corner. It won't challenge for pole. It will be 16th place. So it's Hercules on pole, and that is what this Division 5 championship fight needed. He's ahead of Nordy and T-Keg, and the championship leader, Ice Kid Man, only qualifies 6th.
Well, we did see that the Hercules, the Racing Points, and the Ferraris needed to do something fast to stop Ice Kid Man running away with this, and boy have they responded. Van on base has Ice Kid behind him, then Dan Gilligan, who has shown pace in qualification before, but struggles to sometimes get past the first few laps. Well, I say sometimes, most of the time. T-Keg and then Canudi. So there's a lot of fast drivers ahead of Ice Kid Man. So this is going to be one hell of a race.
So it's Hercules on pole for the Hungarian Grand Prix from Nordy and T-Keg and Dan Gilligan, your top four. Van on base is 5th. Ice Kid Man, the championship leader, is only 6th in this session, so he's got it all to do in the race here. 7th place was, I've missed it entirely. So
Kana in 7th, Iana in 8th, Duke's 9th, Hummersep rounded out the top 10.
We are, thank you, Nugget, for that. We are expecting a dry race, and I can confirm for you that the sun is out. The sun is shining here on the Hungaro ring, and it's not expected that we will see any inclement weather at all in this one. So the interesting thing will be tyre strategy here. Everybody in the top 10 on the soft, but those soft tyres don't last very long at all. And soft medium is doable, but unfortunately, it's not the easiest thing in the world. From my own experience, I mean, we did intermediate medium in Division 6, but I went out on the medium tyres around lap 9 or lap 10, I think. And by the end, the lap 33, 34, those things were 70, 80%. They were not pleasant to drive on at all.
Well, if anything, that shouldn't be too much of an issue. Knowing Division 5, you will have plenty of safety cars, so you will get plenty of opportunity to make your mind up what sort of tyres you want to be on.
So it's Hercules who has pole position for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Hercules, the winner back in Mexico, but barring the freak race, and you wouldn't really call it anything but a freak race in Belgium, Ice Kid Man has been dominating this division in recent weeks, and it's really, really important for both Hercules and T-Keg here that they both finish this race ahead of the Williams driver. In terms of tyres, everybody outside the top 10, with the exception of Evil Steel, has started on mediums, and the exception of Jock James, who has started on the hard compound tyre. In the drive for Division 5, Ice Kid Man leads, remember, 115 points to his name. And he's got 3 wins, 4 podiums now. Hercules, 81 points and only actually 10 ahead of, I think Nordy is in that ballpark as well. T-Keg, the main challenger at this stage. But that pole position is exactly what the Racing Point needed coming into this event. Now, we've got to convert.
We do. Now, we've always known, as I said earlier, Hercules has a lot of pace. Now, he's maybe struggled when it's came to avoiding some contact with drivers in the pack. So it'll be interesting to see if he can get out in front, set a bit of pace, and then just control this race, because we know he's fast enough to lead it from start to finish. But we'll need to see Canudi, we know has pace as well, so it's definitely going to be one hell of a first corner.
Remember as well that Ice Kid Man is kind of in the pack here in P6. Yep. It's a long run down to turn 1. And realistically, the last place you want to be is in the middle of the pack in Division 5.
Indeed. Now we will be seeing them line up. Good to see all cars off the grid, first of all. Is always a good start in Division 5. They can't always guarantee that for us.
We're ready to go. 35 laps it'll be of this Hungaro Ring circuit. It's lights out and away we go in Hungary, and Hercules seems to get away well there. It's a long run down to turn 1, and they've got many, many cars wide. Dan Gilligan's on the inside. Hercules looks like he'll hold the lead. Dan Gilligan's gone very deep into turn 1 and just about fails to make contact. Hercules leads from T-Keg, and I think we've got some quick moving cars coming through. It's hard to tell. There's a lot of ghosted cars at this point. But Ice Kid Man looks to be up to 4th place. Dan Gilligan 3rd. And it's Van on base and Nordy who've dropped backwards here. Dan Gilligan side by side with the championship leader as they go into turn 4. And the Renault's hung on here just about. Unfortunately, I've got no idea how to click on. A little bit of contact there between Ice Kid Man and Dan Gilligan. Not a lot of space being given. And now Iana's getting involved. Ice Kid Man has to cut the corner. And it's still all happening here. We're on board with the Williams now. He's having to defend now from the Alfa Romeo behind him. So it's Hercules from T-Keg, Dan Gilligan, and Ice Kid Man under a lot of pressure.
Evil Steel is off and he just drives back onto the track. I'm not sure if he was lucky there was nobody near him there.
There's a real gap in the field. I think Mahoney, one of the Mercedes, has got some significant wing damage. Mahoney's lost a lot of his wing there and is going to have to recover to the pit lane. But look at T-Keg right up behind Hercules as we finish lap 1.
But does he have the pace? Hercules dragging away though, not giving T-Keg a chance to get up near him on this corner.
Come out of lap 2. Hercules leads for Racing Point from T-Keg in the Ferrari. It is Dan Gilligan in 3rd place for Renault, and he'll be hoping for a clean race this time around. We're showing Nordy P3. The timing tower is all over the place here. So we're going to have to wait for that to calm down. But it is the Renault in 3rd position on the road as it stands. Ice Kid Man is 4th and Iana is in 5th. Pit stops for Daft, Ferron and Roy Weller on that first lap.
Decided to stay out with that wing damage, and Canahus just went past him quite comfortably going into corner 4. So it will be interesting to see how long Mahoney tries to stay out like this, because he is all over the track, unfortunately. I imagine he'll want to get in soon.
That feels like a mistake. That feels like he must have understeered out of the pit lane or something in the Mercedes. We've got a yellow flag in sector 1, which is a Roy Weller's
Roy Weller round, yep. Roy Weller is kissing walls and now kissing grass, but he's got the car back on track and is away with his race.
So Nordy down to P7, having started on the front row for McLaren, got it all wrong in the opening part. And Iana 5, the big winner, you can see. Hercules sets the fastest lap of the race.
Oh, and Dukes is spun going in after turn 14 on the start line. Dukes spun round on that corner. Probably major damage, and we'll have to milk it all the way round to the pit lane now.
Yeah, there's huge damage to the front wing. You can see most of that front wing is gone, and Dukes, unfortunately, has the whole lap to go. Bit of a fight kicking off now between Iana and Van on base over 5th position. It's difficult to overtake here. It really, really is.
It demands balls of steel and accuracy to get those balls in the right place. And Iana having a bit of a wee wobble there, and Van on base could look to have a wee nosy on the inside. Ice Kid Man shown as an AI at this point. I'm not sure if you're picking up on that as well. Not sure if he's maybe having a bit of connection issues or such, or if it is just a graphical interference.
I'm not sure. I've not seen anything from my end to suggest as much on that. I'll go on board. We're too far back, unfortunately, from Iana's point of view to be able to see that. And Hummersep first to pick up a time penalty in this session.
It was just for a brief moment flashing up AI, so I'm not sure if it's just Codemaster's graphical design being as great as always. But Iana just milking it around there. We'll see how he gets on. Van on base will look to capitalise on this stretch and make an easy pass into turn 1.
Yeah, we've got a DRS train here, and it's going to be Van on base down the inside of Iana into turn 1. Iana tries to fight it out in the Alfa Romeo around the outside. Nordy's getting involved as well. Iana getting loose at the back end a little bit, and both of those cars are through. Hummersep now sniffing around as well, but a double pass from Van on base and Nordy to make it up into P5 and P6 respectively. But the top 3...
Hummersep has went round as well. Hummersep has just went round Iana now as well, to make that a 3-car pass in a few corners for Iana.
The top 3 are dropping Ice Kid Man a little bit. The Williams has not got a lot of pace on these soft tyres, and again, this is exactly what Hercules and T-Keg want to see. Now, equally, from Hercules and T-Keg's point of view, what you want to do here, you don't want to take each other out, scrapping over who can gain the most points back if Ice Kid Man has a difficult day. So we've got to play this slightly sensibly here. T-Keg runs wide.
Canudi looking on the inside of Van on base on a place I would never have looked at overtaking. I believe it's corner 11, just before the left, right. But we will see. We'll be close enough. He may make a move down the straight of the going into turn 1 if he keeps on the back close enough of Van on base.
Yep, so he's got DRS, he's got the overtake button on. You can see it just about on the wheel there. And Nordy is going to have to go to the inside on Van on base, who doesn't really defend that one particularly strongly. And the McLaren on the inside goes through into 5th place. Does he? We get to see him come around the corner. There he is. And the move completed nice and cleanly. Good pass from Nordy up into 5th place.
And just as that was all going on, Canna unfortunately picking up a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. Mahoney did pit and did go into the medium tyres, so will have to pit again. I would have expected perhaps him to jump onto the hard tyres and try to have gone as deep as he could, maybe going the rest of the race on them, maybe getting a safety car to help him out with that. That is dropping down, he's back into the pits again, Mahoney.
Ice Kid Man is really struggling. He's 3 seconds behind Dan Gilligan now.
As just speaking, just to finish up on Mahoney, has came in for hard tyres, so that will be Mahoney looking to go the rest of the race.
Dan Gilligan, just as I mentioned him, picking up a 3-second time penalty, but it's now Nordy sniffing round on the back of the ailing Williams here, who does not have a lot of pace at all. I wonder if he's trying to just eke out those soft tyres a little bit longer to gain the benefit back later in the race. Meanwhile, Dan Gilligan
looking like he will make a move here on the front straight. He's got DRS. It should be a very simple pass for him, and it is indeed.
It is. Nordy through into 4th position. The championship leader drops to 5th. And Nordy on the charge for McLaren right now.
Indeed. And Van on base not far behind Ice Kid Man either. So potentially another position in threat there for Ice Kid Man if he's not careful. Looking a bit slow around these corners.
There's huge gaps back. Evil Steel's 9th. Karna's in 10th. And then there's a bunch of cars. Cookie's in the pits again for Alpha Tauri. Possibly with wing damage on that thing. We'll see if they're going to change the wing when he comes in. But there's a bunch of drivers just really, really hoping for a safety car now. Cookie now goes to the hard tyres. But they're really, really strung out. We can see Daft and Duke side by side going into turn 1. And the Haas makes it through into P13 with a nice clean move there. Duke's looking to fight back as they come down towards turn 2. But Daft looks to have that one sorted. Nice and cleanly done. And you can see now Nordy already beginning to drop Van on base. Not Van on base, sorry. Ice Kid Man and Van on base, in fact. As the Williams is having a really bad time here.
TK just missing out on DRS, but Dan Gilligan does have DRS to try and pull a bit of speed back up to the 2nd place T-Keg. Won't be able to make a move this lap, but it will help him catch up on the next or the following one.
Pit window's open if you want to go to the hard tyre. And what I've heard, the hard tyre is not amazing.
No, Van on base was all over that rear bumper of Ice Kid Man. He could have touched the Safina sign on the back if he wished.
I think Hercules has made a mistake somewhere as well, because T-Keg is close to within half a second here as they come up through turn 4. But again, this entire section of the track, there is just nowhere to overtake unless the car in front makes a significant error.
Evil Steel must have made a mistake. He is now down to 11th.
He's pitted for the hard tyres.
Pit for the hard tyres, that's what it is. And Mahoney has left the session by the look of things, but the car is gapped, so I think that may be a connection issue more than anything.
Ice Kid Man now 2.5 seconds back from Nordy, and he's losing touch with the leaders. Van on base will be keen to do his teammate a favour here and get past this Williams, relegating back into 6th place.
Hercules comes into pit. T-Keg stays out. Dan Gilligan comes in. Canurdi comes in. Ice Kid Man comes in. Both Van on base came in, so the Ferraris have split it perfectly. Whether that was knowingly or through contact. Oh, there's contact in pit! Van on base has clipped Ice Kid Man and lost his front wing.
Yeah, it's a replacement wing for Van on base. He's gone into the back of Ice Kid Man, coming into the pit lane. It's hard tyres for Hercules. It's hard tyres for Dan Gilligan. Hard tyres for everybody, actually. And it's T-Keg who's gone the extra lap up at the front. Trying the overcut here. As we saw in Japan, T-Keg never the first to go into the pits.
No, but T-Keg and Van on base did get this sorted out very right to make sure that there was no double stacking and both sitting waiting there. So this has probably gave T-Keg the best opportunity to get out in front of Hercules, so it will be worth watching to see how quickly he can get in and out. And Van on base, unfortunately, just really badly judged that braking gap to get under the 50 miles an hour, using Ice Kid Man to potentially...
Oh, contact! Contact there between Evil Steel and Jock James as they came through turn 4, and Jock James is missing an end plate now on that front wing. I'm not sure if that was from the contact or a little earlier. But the AlphaTauri having a tough time. Dukes picks up a 3-second time penalty, and Karna has actually got through now, past Evil Steel as we continue through. So T-Keg has now pitted for Ferrari. He goes to the hard tyre as well. Nobody going soft medium here.
Evil Steel with no wing damage after that contact, but looking a bit shaken up regardless.
We're looking on board with Hercules, back to Dan Gilligan, and soon we're going to see back to T-Keg as well. Dan Gilligan has got the jump as they come through into turn 1. Dan Gilligan is ahead of T-Keg. That is huge for this championship. T-Keg now needs to find a way past the Renault.
Not only that, but he has to find a way past the Renault fast so that he doesn't lose too much time to Hercules during all of this. And
Connor's got past Jock James, but has gone a bit too wide.
Well wide, yeah.
Another 3-second time penalty for Dan Gilligan, who now has racked up 6 seconds already. And that kind of does T-Keg a favour, really, because Dan Gilligan now needs to hope that everybody else picks up a whole bunch of penalties, or he has to go about getting past this man, Hercules, to take the net lead of the race. Hercules wide there on those hard tyres.
Evil Steel is having another look at Jock James. Ferron picking up a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings.
So that mistake from Van on base coming into the pits has given Ice Kid Man breathing space. As we see the leader, Yana 5.
Flag. Kana is spun. He is not out of the race, getting back on the track. His tyres will be boiling hot though.
So Yana 5 pits from the lead, and that gives Hercules the lead back, but under significant pressure from Dan Gilligan in the Renault. Both locking up a little bit as we come into turn 1, but we can see just how close Dan Gilligan is. He'll want to get this move done because he needs now to try and stretch out 6 seconds. It's a big, big ask.
It is, but Dan Gilligan is one of these drivers that we know has a lot of pace, so it's not going to be the easiest thing in the world for T-Keg to overtake. You know, you'd ideally want a driver in there that you know you've maybe qualified faster of, or doesn't have as much pace as yourself, but Dan Gilligan is definitely a man with pace.
Evil Steel has got past Jock James for 10th position. Jock clearly struggling with that wing damage, and Van on base picks up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. The penalties are starting to arrive, and the Ferrari lost out to Iana 5 there, thanks to the another penalty for Dan Gilligan. Hercules has got one too. So Hercules has got 3 seconds as well. Yeah. Dan Gilligan is now up at 9 seconds, so clearly he's just making up his own version of the Hungaroring at this stage.
And Jock James and Evil Steel are fighting it out here. Evil Steel way wide here into the corner, something or other at sector 4.
Yeah, well, the fight's between the front two. Dan Gilligan right up behind Hercules again, and T-Keg is in a great position now. Dan Gilligan makes the move, and there's contact! I can't see what's happened. Dan Gilligan is recovering at the track. T-Keg, meanwhile, on the outside of Hercules, going round. There's no wing damage, but it's a fight.
Hercules has the inside line.
T-Keg round the outside, and T-Keg leads for Ferrari.
Huge issues there. Turn 1, Dan Gilligan front left to back right of Hercules, causing massive chaos. T-Keg taking full advantage, and we will see T-Keg at this point just has to drive for 24 laps.
Well, T-Keg now leads and doesn't have a time penalty. Hercules is second and does have a time penalty. Dan Gilligan is third and has 3 time penalties. And now Nordy's getting involved in this fight as well. It was a late move from Gilligan, wasn't it? And Hercules just closed the door.
I mean, Hercules, in my opinion, turned the corner, and Dan Gilligan went for a gap that wasn't there from very far back. The stewards will, of course, look at it just to see their views on things, but you have to feel bad for Hercules here. I don't think he did very much wrong, and through a fault not of his own has lost. Oh, bit of a slip there from Hercules coming round, which will put him behind T-Keg a bit more.
Hercules just needs to settle his head a bit here. That wasn't really his fault, any of that, but he has lost out to one of his championship rivals. But what he doesn't want to do is compound the problem by making a mistake and losing more places. Meanwhile, Hummerset is right up behind Ferron as they come down the start-finish straight, although it is quite difficult to get a run, isn't it, down at turn 1 here at the Hungaroring. And Hummerset late on the brakes compared to the Williams. Well, keeping it nice.
We'll make up some pace yet. We'll make an opportunity coming into the fall. If you're Hercules here, you just need to, you know what I mean, get settled back down and just look. You've got 23 laps to go. There's a lot of time, safety car potential. T-Keg, you know, he may pick up his own penalty. You just can't afford to get another penalty yourself and just see what happens.
Jock James having a busy day, involved in another fight, and we can see in the background Carter picking up a time penalty, making an overtake on Dukes around the outside for Renault. So there are now a lot of time penalties. It's going to be a bit of a mental maths exercise.
And we've got a spin from Daft there, clipped it inside curb, held it well, but let Kana just sneak in on the door.
Have you got 5 eyes on this race? Because you are spotting everything.
I sniff out trouble and danger wherever it is.
So up at the front, TK continues to lead. Hercules is back within DRS range. And now Dan Gilligan has dropped back from that fight quite considerably and is having to deal with Nordy and Ice Kid Man behind him.
Coming through the last left, right. Kana is close to Jock James. Jock James going back into the pits. But Kana does have Daft on the inside, side by side, going round the last corner into the first stretch. Kana has DRS. It's going to be a race down to first corner. Can Daft keep the pace and close out the door? He does. And what will Kana do here?
Round the outside from the Renault. It's a very, very good attempt. He's got the move done. Great pass from Kana.
Daft coming back on the outside on the medium tyres with a bit more pace. Some excellent driving here from both drivers, leaving each other plenty of space. Kana takes the lead again into 12th.
That was absolutely superb from the pair of them. Really, really clean fighting. Really, really good.
Fantastic. Side by side, full respect, full track limits given, and a big round of applause to both drivers. If you watch this back, Kana, Daft, that was superb driving from both of you. Just whilst we were watching that action, Hummersep did pick up another 3-second penalty. Hercules is pulling away from Dan Gilligan and is within a second of T-Keg, roughly, so we'll see what he can do with that.
So Ice Kid Man is a net P4 here because Dan Gilligan's penalty situation is severe to say the least. So would he be with T-Keg and Hercules 1 and 2? Is the Williams happy to set up a P4, or do we feel like we need to get past Northy in a hurry?
At the moment, you can wait and see. You can give it a few laps to see if Hercules picks up another penalty, because Hercules won't have much rope left to play with, as it were, when it comes to these taking corners too wide. Dan Gilligan, you know, is basically a default car in front of you, and Ice Kid Man is probably thinking, I can take Nordy, but I need to make sure I do it at the right spot at the right time. There's no rush right now, if you ask me. The worst thing that could happen for Ice Kid Man is that he doesn't finish this race.
Well, of course, we are 14 laps into a 35-lap race, and by Division 5 standards, it has been very, very quiet.
Quiet but action-filled, I'd like to say. So we've not got the carnage yet.
Well, speaking of this, it's about to kick off on the main straight, I think. The problem that Ice Kid Man's got is that Nordy has the DRS from Dan Gilligan as well, which is making it very difficult to make a pass.
Indeed. He's almost going to have to hope that he can do what we've seen a few cars previously do. If Dan Gilligan was to make a mistake, a potential double jump in front, because the last thing he probably wants is Nordy to get past, but for him not to, and leave that gap there.
These 5 are very much the class of this Division 5 field. The Anna 5 has now dropped almost 10 seconds back from this fight, and Van Ombe is struggling to get past the Alfa Romeo. So Hummersep seems to be glued to the back of Ferron's Williams for P8. But T-Keg and Hercules are now beginning to stretch a little bit from Dan Gilligan, aren't they?
They are indeed. And this is what you're saying. If you're Hercules, you're happy to sit here at the moment. Your tyres are roughly the same. You don't have to worry about that. It'll be interesting to see how T-Keg handles leading a race. Up till now, it's very much been Ice Kid Man out front and with confidence. Does T-Keg have the concentration to go 20 laps in front without making a mistake?
Well, right now, he can afford 1 track limits penalty, and he would still be ahead of Hercules. But if Hercules passes him on the road, that would change very, very quickly indeed. In the background, Ice Kid Man is right up behind Nordy as they come out of the final turn. Hercules had a lock into turn 1. Ice Kid Man also had a lock into turn 1.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to pass.
Indeed. And we've got Hummersep having a look at Fer. Never quite, he's within DRS, but never quite close enough to get the pass on that home straight. Ferron showing good pace in the actual track circuit itself to always kind of just pull away from Somerset around the corners.
They're pretty much all on that. Oh, time set. Look at that. Nordy went wide, and Nordy picks up a 3-second time penalty now for track limits. Ice Kid Man having a look. He suddenly seems to be all over the back of that McLaren. And now Ice Kid Man is net third if he just sits there.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
another 3-second penalty taken up to 12 seconds, I believe.
Yeah. Yellow flag to one. That is Jock James, I think. No, it's Cookie. It's his teammate, Cookie, facing the wrong way. And with his front wing. Good news. Meanwhile, look at this.
Another 3-second penalty on Kana. And, Ice Kid Man is sniffing some husky chocolate here. He is ready to pounce, I imagine.
Nordy is going to have DRS and a bit of a moment.
Man had a tank slapper, yes. That will cost him. That will cost him. He'll be disappointed. He could have had the take there. That bit of a tank slapper was enough just to end that.
Hercules is getting to within 3/10, isn't he, up at the front? But it's not quite happening yet. I'm trying to watch two battles at once that are happening just out of camera shot of each other. But it's been a very good race so far. It's one of those... Oh, Nordy into the wall!
Oh!
Huge wing damage for Nordy. He lost the back end out of turn 2, and Nordy is going to have to pit for McLaren. There's a big chunk of that front wing gone.
He's got no steering whatsoever. Nordy this is going to be race over. By the time he gets back, he's got no control over the steering whatsoever for Nordy here. He can't even turn on the brakes. He is stuck going straight line.
TK!
3 seconds!
TK gets the 3-second penalty, and it's game on again at the front.
Hercules will just sit here now knowing, just keep the pressure on. You might force another one.
In a moment for Hercules, we saw in the background there, who now loses time and loses DRS to the race leader. These hard tyres are not the easiest things in the world to drive on, and Nordy is already down to P7 before he even comes into the pits. He'll hope he can get out ahead of Evil Steel and try to recover. Would you even have another set of soft tyres to use here?
I don't think you can. I think you have to go mediums. I don't think you can. I don't think the softs will take 17 laps.
I'm not being funny, but the only driver in the top 4 who doesn't have a time penalty is Ice Kid Man. If he can clear Dan Gilligan and start getting after the top 2, the Williams is still in play to win this race.
Yes, indeed, at this point in time. And he's having another slip.
That was a big one. Medium tyres for Nordy.
Yeah, it's almost as if he knows we are watching him, isn't it?
Somerset continuing to have a tow rope off the back of Ferron's car, which is presumably really good for fuel saving.
Indeed, Somerset and Ferron both on 6-second penalties, so there is no advantage between either driver here.
That'll be a nice fight to keep an eye on, but at the moment, Somerset not able to find a way through, and we've got a Haas in the wall. I think that's the last placed Arif, who now has wing damage and has to do a full lap. Meanwhile, Ice Kid Man. The car ahead has 12 seconds of time penalties. And Dan Gilligan is actually under threat from Iana, who's 10.7 seconds back down the road.
Indeed. Iana having a very quiet but very productive race here. You know?
It is, yeah, it's a good run.
5th place is a very good spot for Iana, who we know is sometimes not being able to keep up with the top drivers, but it's very, very good to see.
Here's the Ferron-Hummersep fight, and Ferron looked like he was possibly losing the back end a little bit. Hummersep's now got a run on him as they go down towards turn 1. The Mercedes goes to the inside, and Hummersep is through for now into P7. We'll see if the Williams is able to fight back.
Ferron had a tank slapper there, so Hummersep will keep that position and happily just pull a wee bit of a gap there. Ice Kid Man, meanwhile, sniffing about the back of Dan Gilligan, down to about half a second.
We've got Mahoney and Dukes. Mahoney going through on the Red Bull, and Mahoney makes that move stick for Mercedes. I think that camera angle's awful. I have to wait for them to come round the corner, and I never know if they've had a moment. Yeah,
Mahoney showing good to get back into this. Penalty free, so his default 10th position at the moment. Has struggled the last few weeks, so I really hope he keeps this race nice and clean and picks up a chance. Kana, Evil Steel off the track again. Kana snakes through just before the mini chicane in sector 2. Kana on a real good race, apart from those time penalties.
Now,
it's shown some
now,
really good
Ice
racing.
Kid Man. Now, Ice Kid Man has a run on Dan Gilligan. He goes to the inside. There's only one car's width there. And as we go into turn 1, Ice Kid Man is through. Is the Renault able to fight back? They're both on the power a bit quickly. And there's contact.
Both hold it. There's contact. Now, will they let each other? There's...
Ice Kid Man is through. And off is Roy Weller, I think, at the top of the circuit.
Yeah. Roy Weller has lost full nose. And Dan Gilligan has retaken Ice Kid Man, though.
We missed it. The Renault's back through. I assumed that move was done. Roy Weller now with a 3-second time penalty, but what a fight that was. And actually, from Ice Kid Man's point of view, that just cost him time to the cars ahead that he wants to stay within 3 seconds of.
Indeed. Dan Gilligan showing no pushover here.
Yellow flag is the McLaren. It's Roy Weller.
Yeah. Roy Weller ghosting and getting out the way well. Dan Gilligan kind of went to an extreme left to avoid Roy Weller, though that gave Ice Kid Man the chance to catch back up.
Well, it's we're about to come on to lap 21 of this 35-lap race.
Oh, Ice Kid Man.
T-Keg leads from Hercules. Dan Gilligan, remember, has 12 seconds, of time penalties and plenty of time to pick up more.
Indeed. Ice Kid Man, this car does not look like it's under his full control. There's always a bit of a shimmy and a shake coming from him. He never seems to get clean out of these corners. So, again, another shake there. So we had
Daft off the circuit is what I was looking for there. Homosep has cleared Ferron. We did see that before, but Ferron continues to be on the back of him, and the Williams fighting back now as they come down towards turn 1. Ferron going to the outside. Homosep holding that inside. Ferron's going to try and duke it out all the way around the outside of that corner. And Homosep holds the place for now. Ferron thinks about the dive, thinks better of the dive, and that was very much the right call at that stage.
Indeed.
Another time penalty for Dan Gilligan.
That is 15 seconds. Dan Gilligan's car seems to be magnetised to the grass patches on this track, trying to feel as much of it as they can, which is unfortunately mounting up those time penalties. But he is still showing the pace to keep Ice Kid Man behind him.
If you're a Division 5 fan, this race could use a safety car.
Ice Kid Man all over the back of this Renault. Going to have another look down the inside, I imagine, on the home stretch into turn 1. We'll see if he can do it. We'll see if he can hold it this time.
Yeah, Dan Gilligan going to the inside. He holds the inside this time. Ice Kid Man has to go to the outside. He's going to look to do the switch back here. And he runs into the back of him. There's no wing damage, but Dan Gilligan defended that very, very well. He held the car on the inside and prevented the switch back from taking place. Another lap that the Williams is going to have to sit behind the Renault, and another lap where Hercules can try to get clear. Remember, Hercules is not out of 3-second range of Ice Kid Man, who is doing very, very well to keep this within the lines and not pick up a time penalty. A net P2 just about for the Williams at this point, based on the current place of situation, with everyone's time penalties. And you can see, can't you, watching Dan Gilligan from behind, quite why he has 15 seconds of time penalties in this race. He's using all of the run.
His car loves that grass. Ice Kid Man having a wee peek on the inside, but never an overtaking spot there. We'll see him make a move again into the home stretch, I imagine.
The question will be, does Dan Gilligan have much of his ERS power left? He's running a little low on it. Ice Kid Man behind has got even less. Yep. So here we go again down the main straight, and here we go again, Dan Gilligan to the inside, and he's going to force the Williams to the outside once again as they come down towards turn 1. They are side by side. Dan Gilligan is not giving this one up in a hurry. Nope. Ice Kid Man is off the circuit, and it's rally style now from the Williams as they come down towards turn 2. He's still in play.
Got to be careful, there's no contact.
Oh, and there was contact, and he is through now, Ice Kid Man. It was a little rude, but ultimately maybe it needed to be a little rude. But he's cleared.
Got the pace slow coming into turn 4 though.
Round the outside! Unbelievable pass from Dan Gilligan.
Wow, there was not a width of half a car there, and somehow he Houdini'd it through nonetheless.
How did that not end up in the barrier?
Not a clue. Not a clue. Dan Gilligan showing some real racing and fighting speed here. which is good to see after all the unfortunate incidents in the previous races for him.
If there's two men delighted about this, it's T-Keg and Hercules up ahead, because these two are going nose to tail constantly around this lap. This is as brutal a scrap as we've seen in this Division 5 season. What a watch this is.
Indeed. I think Dan Gilligan maybe took that Ice Kid Man pass a bit too personal, and so when he went round that outside, he was not giving it up for love nor money.
Here we go again, and Ice Kid Man gets the penalty. He gets the 3-second time penalty. That's big in the context of the race. It doesn't matter in terms of Dan Gilligan, but it gives T-Keg and Hercules breathing space now.
Indeed. Again, that Williams does not look stable under this setup. Almost every corner, especially turn 14, we see Ice Kid Man come out and it takes a bit of a wobble. So we'll see if he's able to sort that out and avoid any more penalties.
T-Keg leads this race by 2.5 seconds, and he's keeping it nice and quiet, and he's keeping it together. Hercules appears to have settled for second place right now, but obviously would prefer to catch the leader up. This is a slobber knocker.
Definitely, there is. All the action still to come. 11 laps of this still to go. You can't imagine they can go 11 more laps like this without an incident. But we will see.
So remember, Ice Kid Man has now given up his 3-second advantage to Hercules ahead of him. But of course, Hercules, if he picks up another penalty, then Ice Kid Man would be back in play if he can get past this Renault, which is proving very, very difficult to do. I said Hungary was a difficult circuit to overtake on. Well, Dan Gilligan is making it even more so.
Indeed, indeed. He is refusing to give up that third place.
So here we go again down the main straight. And Ice Kid Man probably needs to save up a bit of battery power here. He looks to the inside, thinks better of it this time. Is maybe thinking that he just wants to get this car to the end in one piece if he possibly can. Goes to the inside. Oh, he thought better of that at the last moment, didn't he? He thought about a cheeky dive.
Now, a
They're
bit
neck
further
and
back
neck.
to field, we've got Mahoney within 0.3 seconds of Evil Steel coming round the 13th and 14th corner. So Mahoney will probably look to make a move here and get within the top 10 and see if he can get this pass made cleanly.
I was about to go to these guys.
Yep,
It was difficult to do.
Yep, Evil Steel made a very early move which left Mahoney all the space.
Here's the recovering Nordy as well in the background coming through. Both Red Bulls involved in this fight. Mahoney's got through past Evil Steel. Nordy has got through past Dukes. And Nordy on those medium tyres compared to Evil Steel's 17-lap-old hards. Probably just going to drive straight around the Red Bull.
Well, we'll see if he does a Gilligan and goes round the lip of turn 4, or he's just going to go round the inside and
cut the corner
a bit. Yes, that was greedy there. And we've got Kana off the track as they go past.
Now is Kana off the track significantly? We've recovered the situation, but I've got to look at it again, because Ice Kid Man is alongside once again as they go into turn 1. And this time he's going to try to switch back again, and this time the move is done. For the championship leader, he has cleared Dan Gilligan, but right now what he needs to do is try to get within 3 seconds of Hercules, and he needs to hope that the Racing Point makes another mistake and gives up a time penalty, as the Renault behind him does that yet again. 18 seconds now for Dan Gilligan.
Again, the maximum I believe is 20.
It's 30. So he's more than halfway there.
Plenty. We will see, yes. Ice Kid Man will no doubt be looking ahead at Hercules trying to catch that Racing Point down. And Canudi, as we were saying all that, got through past Evil Steel. But Canudi into the top 10.
Oh, Dukes is round. Dukes has spun the car. In the Red Bull, he's kept it out of the barriers, and he's kept it out of the other cars as well. So, recover that one nicely. The yellow flag will be cleared in Sector 1. And we can go racing again. So Dan Gilligan has already fallen a second behind Ice Kid Man. And realistically, the championship leader will be looking at this and saying, well, you've got 18 seconds of time penalties. Give it up, man.
You would imagine so, but Dan Gilligan looks like he's here to race regardless of those penalties.
The lead car without a time penalty is this man, Iona 5, who is very, very quietly, and I say this about a few drivers, having a very strong race. And he will be net P4 because Dan Gilligan's time penalties are going to put him way back.
And if he picks up a couple more seconds over the cars ahead, he could find himself on the podium.
Well, a mistake from any of the top three, where TK continues to lead the Hungarian Grand Prix with a little under 8 laps to go. We've not really seen a lot of TK because everybody else has been fighting, and that does mean, I mean, TK will be absolutely delighted with that scenario right now, but it's very, very spread out, isn't it? Nordy, meanwhile, is making good progress up against Mahoney as the McLaren tries to recover on his fresh medium tyres. Mahoney was in that fight with the rest of the top four, of course, until he made the mistake coming out of turn 2, put the car into the wall and lost his front wing. Mahoney also doesn't have any time penalties, so can consider letting Nordy go, but will want to keep him behind as long as he possibly can, so that the McLaren has less time to scamper up the road. There's a 17-second gap between Mahoney and the Williams of Ferron ahead of him.
Indeed, Mahoney has struggled the last couple of races.
Carna's off.
Carna again just struggling here this race, unfortunately. I'll go back to Mahoney. Mahoney has struggled the last couple of races, just getting points and finishes nice and clean. So the top 10, no penalties for Mahoney, which would, you know, if he can get a bit more pace, or if Ferron picks up a few more penalties, a potential top 8 for him would be very much taken, just to get a bit more confidence back in that driver.
So Ice Kid Man has easily popped himself within 3 seconds, almost within 2 seconds now of Hercules, and he'll wonder if he can do it on the track, the Williams driver. If Hercules makes a mistake and picks up another time penalty, he will give up second place to the championship leader, which is precisely what he doesn't want to do, and it's precisely what TK doesn't want him to do either. Now 1.4. Hercules is beginning to struggle.
Canodi does make the pass on Mahoney, just going into the second corner of the track.
So it's Hercules now who's amongst the top 3, certainly the slowest driver of those 3, and he needs to really hold off that Williams.
What can we say? Hercules on hard tyres is about as fast as my granny, so that is not surprising, but hopefully he can find some pace into the last couple of laps here to at least either hold off Ice Kid Man or catch up to T-Keg.
T-Keg has kind of checked out at the front. He's almost at the boundary of being able to give up another time penalty and still win this race. So Hercules has pulled back a couple of tenths since I started that sentence. We've got Arif out of the race. This could be big. Arif is out at the final corner. He's spun and put it in the barriers. There's 6 laps to go here. You can see the car there. The wheel's gone. What are race control going to do about this? We've got a yellow flag called.
We could be in a safety car here.
Oh, and Cookie is off, and Cookie keeps it out of the barrier, trying to get past Evil Steel. But I think we are getting away without a safety car here, by the looks of things. The track is green.
The car has just disappeared.
T-Keg from Hercules from Ice Kid Man. Dan Gilligan no longer a feature up at the front, despite his slobber knocker of a fight with Ice Kid Man and his 18 seconds of time penalties. Iana 5 is on for Iana 4th place. And I think even Van on Base is racing Dan Gilligan here.
Funny, 4th and 6th, yes, racing both with penalties, but Dan Gilligan with 18 seconds. A mighty number.
So Nordy has 3 seconds less than Ferron and Hummerset, who are running their own race in 7th and 8th. Hummerset, don't want to jinx him, but he hasn't scored points since Baku, the Mercedes driver, but he's running comfortably in the points right now.
Indeed, but Mahoney is within 6 seconds of Canodi.
And Ice Kid Man is within a second of Hercules. The Williams has good pace right now.
He does indeed. But he does always have that bit of a tank slapper coming out of the 14th corner. We'll see if that continues to be an issue or if he's got it corrected just coming round now.
So we did get a DNF after all that. We didn't get the full complement of cars to the line. I think we're still in the bounds of the game throwing a safety car this late in the race. We saw a late safety car in Austria, didn't we? But of course, catching is one thing, passing is quite another around this Hungaroring circuit, and it is still all to be done for Ice Kid Man.
Indeed. And Hercules is no easy car to go past. Jock James picking up a 5-second speeding in the penalty and has retired the car.
Jock James out of this one. Another difficult day for AlphaTauri. But he's done the same thing. He's retired the car in the pit lane, and Cookie is the next driver to get 3 seconds of time penalties. I did say it was going to be a bad track for time penalties, this one. Proven to be absolutely correct. Unfortunately, Jock's car seems to be leaving the pit lane again. So hopefully that's going to pull over quickly and not cause a safety car or anything. He did do the right thing by doing that in the pit lane, but unfortunately the car has gone back out onto the circuit.
Jock James saying he's had issues that his wing repair was bugged and it's been broken since lap 3 despite pitting twice.
Well,
so unfortunately to hear for him
his car is now pulling off the track. I think he's near Mahoney. We can see him. He's just in the wall on the far side there. Hopefully the game doesn't throw a safety car for that. No, it's nice and safe. Meanwhile, Ice Kid Man, within a second of Hercules on the main straight. He is all out of hers, and that is the problem that the Williams has got. He's got nothing left. You can see him bouncing off the 1% part of his battery power. Hercules has got about 35% left, so in theory, the Racing Point has got this covered if he doesn't make a mistake. It's 2.1 up at the front as well, so T-Keg isn't exactly scampering away.
Indeed, and probably all three of them just one mistake away from another 3 seconds, as Evil Steel picks up a 3-second time penalty again. They're taking him to 6 seconds.
The top three in the championship continue to be 1, 2, and 3, and this is precisely the order that T-Keg would want it. We've got... Oh no, it's not Hummersep, it's Mahoney facing the wrong way. I really thought I had jinxed Hummersep there, but Mahoney recovers. He does lose his place in the points. He tries to keep out the way of Dukes. Unfortunately, actually gets in the way of Dukes in trying to do so. But does give up that position to the Red Bull. Up the road, Cookie against Evil Steel, going into turn 1. The AlphaTauri on the outside, and he looks to have got that move done. He's past the Red Bull and into the points for the Cookie Monster.
Indeed, indeed. Num 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 for big Cookie Monster there.
Here we go again. Every time Ice Kid Man comes down that start-finish straight, I seem to be suggesting he might be trying to pass someone. He's going to run out of battery again. He's at 5.41% now. And again, Hercules has it covered. Lap 33 out of 35. T-Keg with a 1.9 second lead.
And again, T-Keg and a lot of drivers just one more mistake away from another 3-second penalty. So they all have to still be driving fast and careful. But Ice Kid Man looking here to perhaps do a Dan Gilligan.
He's right up behind him, isn't he? He is right up behind him. And he is willing that Racing Point into a mistake. Hercules has got to hold his nerve here.
Yeah. All top 4 of the top 4 on hard tyres. T-Keg on 23 laps. The following 3 all on 24 laps. So same tyre length for much of the top 6.
I can tell you, being P2 and trying to hold someone this close behind you for this many laps is not easy. It is not easy at all. Half a second between Hercules and Ice Kid Man. T-Keg looks to have it covered, barring a silly mistake from the Ferrari up at the front. He's got 2 laps to go now for T-Keg to pick up what would I think be his first win of the season. But Hercules now has to hang on against Ice Kid Man. He'll be deploying all of the battery, and Ice Kid Man's battery deployment is giving him real issues in getting this pass done.
Hercules just maintaining that gap nice there. He just knows he's got to go round that corner once more and hold them off once more to secure the 2nd place. Unless, of course, Ice Kid Man wants to be aggressive and make a jump on one of these other corners. He picked up a bit of speed here.
There's a bit of a slip for Hercules coming out of turn 4. They're all going to be struggling on tyres now. We come up towards the chicane for the penultimate time. T-Keg goes through in the lead. Hercules and Ice Kid Man nose to tail. Ice Kid Man seems to be following everyone around closely in this one, doesn't he?
Ferron, unfortunately, potential puncture it looks like. Yep, puncture on the front left. So Ferron is in for softs and back out again.
Well, a chance for the fastest lap point for Ferron, but he does lose out to Cookie and potentially Evil Steel now as well. But I can't really take my eyes off this one. Evil Steel does get that move done, but Ferron is on fresh softs, and you would hope would be able to get that place back in the lap or 2 laps that he's got. Now, Ice Kid Man, does he have any battery this time? He's got a little bit of battery. He is closer than he's been before, but he just cannot get a run, even with the DRS. Ice Kid Man looks to send it. Dummy's the other way. Hercules now defending the inside line. Ice Kid Man gets a great run and is rallying all the way around. Again, he couldn't get the traction down coming out of turn 1.
Contact there on the back right of Hercules as well, just for a wee nudge. Now, see, if you're Ice Kid Man here, I think you just take 3rd place. I don't think you risk DNFing over a few points here.
Well,
I think you get 3rd place.
You say that, but 2nd would be so much better for him, wouldn't it? And he's right there. He can sniff it.
And yet last would be so much worse. All I'm saying. Sometimes you've got to accept what you've got.
Yeah, but I think these guys at the front are racers, Nugget. And Ice Kid Man will think he can make a mistake, and the car behind has got 18 seconds of time penalties. He's safe to Dan Gilligan.
We'll see, but not if he eats the car into a wall and DNFs.
He's got 1 more lap to get this done. We come through the penultimate corner. He's right behind Hercules. They're only a 1.5 seconds behind T-Keg at the front.
This is it, last corner.
We've got 1 lap to go. And Ice Kid Man is all the way... Oh no, the race is finished. At the end of the race. I was showing lap 34 out of 35. T-Keg wins. For Ferrari. From Hercules and from Ice Kid Man. A great result. Iana 5 picks up a best result of the season in 4th place. And it remains to be seen where Dan Gilligan will finish after the penalty. My ticker board was showing 1 lap to go there.
Obviously, mine was showing 35 and 35.
So Van Base doesn't beat Dan Gilligan to the line. So Dan Gilligan gets his best finish of the season as well. Hummersep is across the line in 7th place. Nordy is looking like he's going to be 8th for McLaren. Cookie and Ferron are duking it to the line.
Yep, Ferron pushing hard on those softs to try and steal another position.
Cookie's hanging on. He'll just hold the inside line and send the Williams the long way around. Ferron's going to get on the power very, very quickly here indeed. Cookie is going to hang on. Unless penalties cost him here. Nope, Cookie is 9th and Ferron is 10th. T-Keg, your winner today. Finally, the Ferrari gets a win in Division 5.
Indeed. Oh.
That was something else, wasn't it, from the top 3?
It may not have been carnage as we expect, but there was some brilliant driving going on here today.
That was an exciting watch for a different reason here in Division 5. And it's the top 3 in the championship who make up the places on the podium today. T-Keg finally gets a win in FRS. It's been a long time coming, that result, and he's deserved. He did cross the line first in Monza and had the result taken off him for a safety car infringement. But this time it looks clean. And this time he gets the full 25 points for winning the race. Hercules will settle for P2. Ice Kid Man, when all's said and done, he's gone from 6th on the grid to 3rd in the race. Iana 5, 4th. Brilliant drive from the Alfa Romeo driver today to finish on no penalties as well. Exceptionally well done. Dan Gilligan had a feisty race but comes home in P5 despite 18 seconds of time penalties. Just think where he could have been without those. Van Base 6th for Ferrari. Hummersep 7th and finally scores some points. Nordy recovered up to 8th in the end. Cookie is 9th for AlphaTauri. And Ferron gets another point for Williams.
Wow, what a race that was. Now, first of all, let's get that out of the way. Driver of the day for you, Harringzord.
I'm going to give it to T-Keg today. I think T-Keg, he was running not at the front. And then when the opportunity came, when Hercules and Dan Gilligan got together, T-Keg took full advantage and he didn't make a mistake once he got the lead of that race.
I would say T-Keg would be one of my shouts as well, but I have to give it to Iana 5. I think for a great clean race, for showing some real speed and just overall very well done. I would have to go with Iana 5, but T-Keg a very close 2nd.
There we go then. So, the championship fight will close up again, won't it? So Ice Kid Man had a 25-point cushion something like that over T-Keg coming into this one. And I think the gap is going to be down to something like 15. Chat was saying, in fact, 9 points behind.
9 points.
With 2 races to go, and they all count here in Division 5. There's no results being dropped. So it was 19 points. And yeah, T-Keg gains back 10 with that result. So it's 9 points between the top 2. Hercules gains a little bit back on Ice Kid Man as well. He goes up onto 99 points for the season. So it will be 130 from 121 from 99. Hercules is quite a way back now. It might be a straight fight between Ice Kid Man and T-Keg in the last 2.
It could very much be, or we could see Hercules perhaps playing a bit of a kingmaker if he can get in front of one of these drivers before the end and stopping them overtaking the other.
Meanwhile,
very interesting to see.
If Daniel Gilligan doesn't win overtake of the season for that pass around the outside of Ice Kid Man at turn 4, I will be very, very excited to see who does win overtake of the season, because that was pretty special. We had a pretty poor camera angle for it, unfortunately, at the top of the hill, but all the way round the outside of turn 4, you don't see that every day.
Very, very brave move, and if only he'd avoided all those time penalties, that could have been a very, very big drive of the day for Dan Gilligan. But good to see him getting a finish.
Yeah, the thing I would say about that pass is that I don't think he would have been able to make that pass on a driver that wasn't the championship leader. I think the championship leader looks at that and says, really? You're going to do that? Fine. Okay, I'll let you go. If that was a squabble over 8th place, that was going to end in the barriers quickly.
Yes. Very likely indeed.
So everyone, we only have 2 races to go now in Division 5. The next one is in a week time in Montreal, Canada. It's a partial street circuit, so there's walls very, very close to the edge of the track. I think we know what that means.
Division 5 back to their best.
Indeed. Thank you very much to McNugget for his co-commentary, as always, on this one. It was a fun race. Thank you very much
for having me. Yes.
It was a fun race for different reasons, wasn't it?
Definitely. It was very fun, very enjoyable, and thank you very much as well to also everybody in chat for sticking with us and joining us as always. It's always appreciated, isn't it?
Indeed, yeah. And a thank you to Elliot for the raid earlier on as well. And we thank him every week, and no different today. Okay, guys, we will be back in a week's time with Division 5 Round 11 from Montreal, Canada. And there's only 2 races to go. 9 points between the top 2 in the championship. You don't want to miss it, do you? We will catch you.
Really don't.
We'll catch you in a week's time.